AP article that shows that they had to stop giving these kids in Africa this polio vaccine because it was actually giving them polio.
That's crazy.
Like, because they experiment, because this is how they find out if stuff works. So you get people with no internet connection, they live in dirt floors, we're going to help you. And then they come in and they experiment on them. And it's so dark.
An astonishing amount. So if you have this war that goes on forever and there's not enough food going to Africa, are you going to have a bunch of starving, desperate people who are like pissed off because they're starving, who hate European civilization because they don't have, they're not getting the food that they were expecting to get? Like, we never think about the knock-on effects of this stuff, right? Yeah, it's really dark and really evil that we're giving them polio. I also wonder, the people who live in the village that got polio, what the hell are they going to be doing in 30 years? They're probably going to hate us.
Yeah, I would be really upset if you gave my kid polio.
Yeah.
You came over here.
Yeah, justifiably so. Justifiably
mission.
so, I'd hate these people, right? You give my kid polio under the pretense of helping them? It's crazy.
But then there's also pharmaceutical drugs that are really beneficial. And this is the thing, like, they have to have guardrails. You have to have some rules
guardrails
and regulations to keep these people from just never-ending profits.
Yes.
Because they always gravitate towards that. They always gravitate towards making the most amount of money.
And again, this is where I go back to some of the arguments of the old left. Like, what kind of guardrails do you want these companies to have? Do you want the guardrails to be that if you donate to the trans pride and BLM organizations, you get to do whatever the hell you want?
Right.
Or do you want the guardrails like, we're going to protect health and public safety and make sure that you're not like killing people under the auspice of helping them?
Yeah. And
that's the kind of guardrails I want. The common
very
sense
logical. Yeah, very logical. But logic is, dangerous today. Like, logic.
Oh man,
logic is it's a problem when you have ideologies and people strictly adhere.
Logic is a colonial idea, man. You got to get away from the logic.
And
that's
math is racist.
That's
I don't know
right.
if you know about that. That's a new one.
Well, okay, so this is interesting. There's this movie that's probably like extremely influential to my entire political worldview, and I didn't realize until last night because I got into Austin late. Usually my wife travels with me. She wasn't with me last night. She's taking care of the kids today. So I get into the hotel room in Austin, and it's very late, and I watch this movie, Boys in the Hood. Have you ever seen Boys in the Hood?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. I watched that movie a ton when I was like 8, 9 years old, and I didn't realize how much that movie has had an influence on me until I watched it last night. Okay, so, all right, for Furious Styles, a lot of his stuff about not letting financial institutions buy up all the stuff in your communities. Obviously, he's talking about black people in LA and not, white people in, rural small town America. But I was like, oh, like that's maybe the first place that I ever heard this idea. Or he talks about like the importance of fatherhood, the importance of especially young boys having a father in the home. It's like I got that from Boys in the Hood, and obviously it spoke to me when I was a kid because I grew up at the time and I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad. And it's interesting, man. He makes this observation, math being racist. He's criticizing the SAT for being culturally biased, but then he says the only part that isn't culturally biased is the math. And it's like, oh, this is like a black nationalist in the mid-'80s, because that's kind of the philosophy of this movie, is what you might call like old school black leftism. This movie in the 1980s is saying something that I wish a lot of white liberals would hear today, which is actually math is not racist. It's one, it's one of the things that's like not definitively not racist is math and numbers. You guys are losing your damn minds.
Well, math is racist is one of those ones where it's like if you heard that in a cocktail party, you'd be like, what? Like if someone behind you was saying math is racist, you'd be like, "What the? We got to get out of here, honey." Grab your purse.
I'd say I want to go. I want one of what they're having. I want to hang out with those guys. So okay. By the way, this is an act of bipartisanship. The one thing that Republicans, man, that I think we got really wrong in the last few years is the anti-Hunter Biden stuff. I want to go hang out with Hunter Biden. I mean, I may be the only Republican. That dude.
He was like Hunter S. Thompson without the writing talent.